14.2 Exercise programs. So before doing the exercise program at all, and even looking into it at all, I did a consultation with the client to see what their personal details were, their goals, their current physical activity levels, their diet, their lifestyle, and their current physical health. That enabled me to kind of get a gauge for what they enjoy, what I need to base it around, like what I need to work around, based on her schedule, and if there would be any barriers or setbacks. And the barriers especially would be clear in the Part Q, and the medical history referral, and there weren't any issues there, so I can go ahead with the exercise program and all is good. So a general overview is that she works a lot and has quite a lot of stress, and that stress will be relieved through this exercise, so that can be helped through just the exercise program in general. Her diet isn't great, which is perhaps why she's slightly overweight, and that is a goal that she wants to work towards in losing weight. And the only barriers is that she's got a very tight schedule due to her work, and she has slight back pains every now and then as a result of her weight. And specifically, she enjoys squash, so I will try to incorporate that in the program. Her specific goals then, so looking with her, I'd say to lose 18 pounds after 6 weeks is a healthy weight to have lost and an achievable weight to have lost over the 6-week course, and perhaps 9 pounds after the 3 weeks. And specific to her sport, she doesn't do any sport at the moment, so simply to take part in more exercise would be a great start. Specific to components of fitness, I'd like her to improve her aerobic endurance, and that would obviously work through improving her aerobic energy system, the aerobic glycolysis system, and specific to muscle groups, I'd kind of like to improve the strength of all her muscles, really, but I suppose specifically the respiratory muscles and the muscles in her legs for walking to and from places. And I will measure all of this through a BMI test and a yo-yo test. So the first week, in the first week of the exercise plan I've created for my client, they'll mostly do functional exercise, but they'll also participate in continuous training. My client will walk to work on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. I won't have her walking every day to start, as she doesn't do any exercise at all currently, so I don't want to overwhelm her by having her participate in exercise every day without break. My client will walk initially at a rate of no less than 50% of their maximum heart rate. This is because, again, her body isn't used to exercising regularly, so will likely struggle to cope and respond correctly to the heightened motor activity she will experience. Therefore, she will become breathless and sweat more easily. Furthermore, exercising at an intensity of 50% of her maximum heart rate will enable adaptations to her respiratory and cardiovascular system so that she can increase her intensity in future weeks. It also means she won't arrive at work sweating and excessively breathless. This functional exercise will improve her aerobic endurance, the efficiency of her body systems, and it will also help her burn calories and lose weight, her main goal for herself. In addition to this functional exercise, I'll also have her participating in continuous training on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I'll have her doing this in the morning so that she has the rest of her day to relax and use as leisure in her days off from work. This continuous training will be on an exercise bike in the first week. This enables me to control resistance and speed a lot easier. I have my client cycling at 55 to 60% of her maximum heart rate. The reason behind this is similar to that of the walk to work. Her body isn't used to exercising at high intensities and therefore will struggle to cope or adapt to the exercise initially. Furthermore, exercising at this intensity will enable her to still adapt due to the increasing demand of this exercise from the usually low levels or demands, but it'll also not push her to the point where she can't continue to work and exercise at that intensity. This specific intensity will enable adaptations to her aerobic system, and it will also improve the health of her body systems and the efficiency of her aerobic glycolysis system. I will also have my client working against a resistance of 5% of her body weight. I want her working with resistance so that it would push her. If the exercise is easily done, it won't be as effective as I intend. This resistance is initially low, as again I don't want to push her too hard to the point where she can't continue for the full 20 minutes. This duration of 20 minutes will mean she's working aerobically in steady state, enabling improvements to her cardiovascular and respiratory systems, making her healthier as her body systems are more efficient. So the warm-up for this continuous training will be cycling with no resistance at no higher than 55% of her maximum heart rate. She will then dismount the bike and do the following stretches. She will do lunges, open the gate, close the gate, and the quadriceps stretch where she'll pull her foot, her heel to her glute. And these will be held for 8 seconds before she gets back on to the bike to do the main session. Her cool down after the main session will simply be cycling at no resistance until her heart rate returns to just a maximum of 80 beats per minute, so just a little higher than her resting heart rate. So in the second week, I will adapt how regularly the client exercises and the duration and intensity of the exercise. My client will now participate in exercise in their journey to work every working day. They will walk to work on Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. They will cycle on Wednesdays and Fridays. The frequency has been increased as they're now exercising on their way to work every day. The intensity has also been increased on the days they walk to work. She will now walk at a rate of no less than 55% of her maximum heart rate. I haven't increased it that dramatically as she won't have adapted that much after 1 week of exercise, so she won't have the capacity to walk that much more intensely. The biggest change was the introduction of cycling. My client will cycle at a work rate of 60 to 65% of her maximum heart rate. This is a further increase on the intensities they had previously worked at. I'll make sure these increases are every week to ensure progressive overload. You need to overload the client to see progress and improvement in the efficiency of their body systems. Again, much like the walk to work, this focuses on their aerobic endurance and burns calories to help the client achieve their goal of losing weight. I wanted to include a mixture of walking and cycling so that she didn't become bored, and it gave her the option to do either. The changes to the continuous training will also focus on an increase in intensity. This week the client will work at 60 to 65% of their maximum heart rate. 60% of their maximum heart rate is 96 beats per minute. This again will enable her body systems to still adapt due to the increase in demand of this exercise from the previous week's demands. It will also not push her to the point where she can't continue to work and exercise at that intensity. This specific intensity will enable adaptations to her aerobic system. It will also improve the health of her body system. In addition to this, it will also increase the amount of resistance on the bike. This will not be too drastic, as too much resistance too early will be too demanding and will mean she can't cope with the exercise. It means there is progressive overload to ensure the body adapts to the increased demand, but also ensures the demand isn't too high. She's not adapted enough for me to increase the length of the session yet, alongside those other adjustments. Therefore, the duration of the continuous training will remain at 20 minutes. The warm-up for the continuous training will be the same as the previous week, as will the cool-down. I haven't changed the type of training for this week because she's only done it 1 week prior and once in that week, so I feel that she wouldn't be bored of it yet, and she shouldn't find it too tedious. In the third week, I'll adapt further how regularly the client exercises and the duration and intensity of the exercise. My client will now participate in exercise in their journey to work every working day at an increased intensity. She'll now jog at a rate of no less than 60%. I haven't increased it that dramatically as she won't have adapted that majorly after 2 weeks of exercise, but just enough to increase the work rate by 5% without her being breathless. She should recover on her arrival at work with ease at this pace. My client will now cycle at a work rate of 65 to 70% of their maximum heart rate. This is a further increase on the intensities they had previously worked at. I'll make these increases every week to ensure progressive overload, as you need to overload the client to see progress and improvement in the efficiency of their body systems. Again, much like the walk to work, this focuses on her aerobic endurance and burns calories to help the client achieve their goals of losing weight. Overall, this daily exercise before work will not only help her achieving her goals, but it'll also relieve stress due to the release of serotonin, a feel-good hormone. The changes to the continuous training will also focus on an increase in intensity. This week, the client will work at 65 to 70% of their maximum heart rate. This again will enable her body systems to still adapt due to the increase in demand of this exercise from the previous week's demands, but it'll also not push her to the point where she can't continue to work and exercise at that intensity. This specific intensity will enable adaptation to her aerobic system and will also improve the health of her body system. In addition to this, I will also increase the amount of resistance on the bike to 7% of her body weight. This will not be too drastic, as too much resistance too early, like previously mentioned, will be too demanding and mean she can't cope with the exercise. It means there is progressive overload to ensure the body adapts to an increased demand, but also means the demand isn't too high to the point where she can't continue. My final adaptation in this week is that the session will now last 25 minutes. Extending the time she works for will mean she's working aerobically and using aerobic glycolysis for longer, so her body adapts to enable that use without fatigue. Again, the warm-up and cool-down are the same as previous weeks, as it replicates the requirements of the main session and is effective for that session. I feel there's no need to change that, as they aren't long enough for her to become bored of it. This week, I'll also be adding another session on a Wednesday after work. This will be high-intensity interval training, and will only be 15 minutes, so won't eat into her tight schedule too much. She will first warm up by doing the following. She'll jog to and touch each cone, and these cones will be arranged in a zigzag with 8 cones. Then she'll sidestep to and touch each cone, and she'll do that twice. Then she'll go backwards through it, then she will lunge through, then she'll open the gate up and close the gate as she comes back down, and then she will jog through again. Again, this focuses on the main muscle groups that will be used in the session, so she'll be using her hamstrings and quads quite a lot, and lats quite a lot as well, so it focuses on those quite a bit. For the main session, for each move, she will perform as many reps as possible in 30 seconds, then rest for 20 seconds, before continuing to the next move. After she's completed all 4 moves, she'll rest for 1 minute before she repeats the circuit, completing 4 circuits in total. The session includes jump squats, burpees, high knees, and star jumps. Because of the requirement to perform as many reps as possible, she'll be working at 80 to 90% of her maximum heart rate. This high-intensity interval training will burn fat as an energy store instead, which is why it helps her lose weight. In addition, this will help with muscle toning or definition, and will improve her body composition, decreasing her body fat percentage, something that was a big thing for her and her main goal in losing weight.